Hello and welcome to sim.bc where it is 11:28. And per usual, I'm going to discuss a bit of what has happened today so far, and that might explain why I'm not at home. Well, today at 10:30 I had a bit of a meeting uh, about internships, or regarding internships. And I've discussed some, quite interesting things about the internship I'm going to do in 2018 on the autumn next year, so to say, with the counselor here. And we went through lots of different internships, lots of different possibilities, lots of different combinations of internships with the program, and so on and so forth. And I quickly realized that I want to work at Blizzard Entertainment. I mean, I might have said that before, but I've seen that they launched their internships for the summer of 2018. So I'm hoping that maybe if I'm applying for that, I can get the internship for the summer and then the internship for the autumn, in connection with Kedge as well. That would be splendid. That would be amazing. That would be the dream, just hands down, baseline. That would be the most awesome thing that has ever happened to me. Probably. So I'm really going to try to do that. How am I going to do that? Well, I've tried to counsel with my teachers here, try to make them write some letters of recommendations. I have asked the counselor to help me with my resume, and I'm being given a special letter saying that I am needed to do an internship and that I'm from Kedge and who the school are and what their credentials are and who I am as a student and so on and so forth. Plus that I'm going to write my cover letter again, because this is not the first time that I've applied for this type of internship at Blizzard Entertainment, but it's hopefully going to be the first time I actually get in. And I'm thinking about potentially including this little series. So that means we're going to pick up the quality, going to pick up the pace, going to try to discuss maybe not just business administration business, but a lot of PR stuff, because the internship I am very interested in is, I'm interested in like half of them. But the one I'm most interested in is the PR, because that just seems to be, that's my jam, right up my alley. That's well good, being able to talk, being able to do everything I'm doing right now, but just, getting paid for it. And that's not at all a thing. As I've discussed yesterday, I could probably be an intern at Blizzard without getting paid all days of the week. I would still work 365 days in a year. Anyway, moving into, sorry, I'm so excited, that's why I'm like losing my words here. Anyway, moving into the actual thing, the meat and potatoes of today, and that's going to be the power distance dimension of Hosfstede. Moving on from yesterday's uncertainty avoidance, and this is PDI for short, and this time I got it right the first time. So what am I going to do? Well, as I said yesterday, I'm going to keep with the format I've already established. So it's going to be the definition of the dimension, moving into some of like a country example, giving a bit of a more concrete explanation to the definition with visual cues, and then moving into some of the experiences I have experienced, which I think is really good, because what better way of discussing cultural dimensions than with cultural clashes, and what better experience to discuss than my own experiences. So without any further ado, let's get into the definition. I'm going to read this word for word so you get the exact correct definition. The dimension, power distance, expresses the degree to which the less powerful members of a society accept and expect the power is distributed unequally. The fundamental issue here is how a society handles inequalities among people. Yeah, that's all fine and dandy, that's all good, but what does it actually mean? Well, it means that people who are countries who are having a high degree of power distance tend to have a very high and very centralized and hierarchical structure. Everybody in society has their place in society. And that might seem very strange to some of you, but I can assure you that this is the thing. Now, for me especially, since I'm from Sweden, this is kind of, this is kind of distant from me, this is kind of unfamiliar, kind of alienated, because as I'm going to tell you, this is going to be all fine, all good. Let's do it here this time. Wow! Hopefully, I yet again have summoned the country-specific ones, and as you can see here, the blue one is yet again France, the purple one is yet again Sweden, because I am a Swede, I am from Sweden, and I am right now studying in France. So hopefully this is going to make all good sense, and this is the same as yesterday. I know I touched upon it a little bit, but this is going to irritate me with the different lightning. Let's see if we can do it like this instead. So can we get it here? Yeah. We could move that just because I moved, all fine, all good. Now let's discuss the power distance. The power distance, as you can see, is a lot higher in France. They tend to have a bit more hierarchical structure, as I think I said yesterday, in comparison to us in Sweden, because we have a very decentralized, go-with-the-flow kind of style. This means also that we have a low power distance. As you can see, as you're going to see later, and as you saw yesterday, we have a low masculinity as well. So low macho culture, that might be one of the reasons why the power distance is so low. Now, given that the power distance is low, we have different. This implements or this affects us in both the formal and the informal setting. Now, what do I mean with that? Well, in the formal setting, you have the hierarchical structure, maybe in France, in the type of you're working at a company and you have a hierarchical structure. You're getting the missions and the directions and objectives from top to bottom, like top down. They're going through different layers. There's one guy at the top saying what we're all supposed to do to reduce the uncertainty, call back to yesterday, and all that, all good in a company. Then in the informal setting, you might have a, for instance, if you have a group of friends, people might tend to be more reluctant and more eased into the idea that someone is going to take charge, someone is going to take all the decisions for the group. So an informal leader will form in the informal setting. And in Sweden, we have kind of the different ways. I kind of touched upon yesterday as well, that we are in the company, we're all having a say, and in informal and social structures, we're all having a say as well. So we're more, I wouldn't say equal, because you're equal in France as well, but we're even more equal in Sweden in that sense and in that regard. Now, moving into, okay, I'm going to show this as well, sorry, before the experiences. Shabam! Now you're hopefully going to see all of them yet again, and as you can see, low power distance in Sweden, low masculinity, low uncertainty avoidance. To go with the flow, no macho culture here. We're very much reluctant and laid back, as in comparison to France, who has a high uncertainty, high power distance, and high masculinity. Or, well, they're not a high on masculinity, but they're like higher than Sweden at least. So for me, it's a cultural clash still. As you can see, that there is some tendency to like work together there, and that if you are high in one, you are also high in a couple of others. Now, not all of them, as you can see, indulgence and individualism is totally not correlated at all, since Sweden is low, and high in individualism for some reason. But we're going to get into that in another day. Well, then we're going to discuss some of my own personal experiences, and that means that I can get back to, this is all, yeah. Isn't this crisp? Right? I mean, if someone is good at editing and want to show Blizzard that I'm good at editing, it's me. Am I right? Am I right? So let's go into some cultural experiences that I've felt. Now, start off with the classic one. When it comes to power distance, what kind of power distance do I have? Well, I would say that I have quite a high amount of power distance, actually. And that is, as I said yesterday, related to my idea of I have a very high uncertainty avoidance. I don't like uncertainty. I want to try and plan for everything, which is also, by the way, why I think that PR internship should be amazing for me, because I really want to try to not control the media, but I'm a Swede, so I go with the flow of the media, but I want to collect everything and come up with all these different scenarios, trying to cover all the different bases, for all different alternatives. So that is also why I tend to have a very hierarchical structure, even though I'm very much working on it, and according to all my group works I've done the last 3 to 4 years, they think that I'm a very, I'm passionate about what I'm doing, but I'm also letting everybody else in on the decision making. Now, the thing that most people don't actually want to make decision is another thing, but everybody, the feedback I've generally gotten the last couple of years is that you are very good with groups. You think you let everybody come to terms with what they do and what they say, which is, all fine, all good. But personally, I see myself as a very hierarchical, power distance high person. Yet again, even though I was raised in a very low power distance country. Just go to show that we're all different. Even though the country is classified as one thing, that doesn't mean that all the individuals are. So my experience is basically going from Sweden to France and experience this difference, me feeling more at home here. That's kind of what I said yesterday as well. So I'm going to give you another one, a bit of a fun one, so to say, a bit of an abstract one as well. And this is all having to do with when I went from Sweden to Russia. That's right, I was in Russia. I was in St. Petersburg, the most Russian city in Europe and the most European city in Russia, according to the people of St. Petersburg. Now, what am I going to say about this? I'm not going to motivate this with the diagram I previously used. I'm just going to give you my own impression of the country. Not the country itself, but this is what I'm going to say. when I went from Sweden, I feel like Sweden has a very, like, if you look at the cities in Sweden and the people in Sweden, it feels like we're all the same. We're all equal. The buildings are very low. They're not establishing power in the same sense. I mean, if you look at the castle in Stockholm, our capital, it's just a big box. In my opinion, it looks like kind of a brick. I might be a bit of a prick saying that, but I think it looks like a brick. I don't think I don't think it's give out a radiant power or anything. But the big contrast, I would say, low power distance as well, reflected in the architecture, reflected in the culture of the people. But however, moving into St. Petersburg with these high previous Soviet buildings, they just scream power, you know. And as I mentioned, I was an architecture student before, but this was, so that might be why I'm reading so much into it. But I saw these big columns, these big churches, these big, yeah, all was generally just big. The theme was like, well, you might have something big in the world, but in Russia it's bigger. That was kind of the feeling I got, and that also helps reinforce the idea of, well, we're bigger, we're better. You as a person in society are lower than we are. We're the government, we're up here. You as a person are down here. A very clear hierarchical structure, even if it wasn't said specifically, that was my impression of the country, which is, you know, an interesting view, because me as a foreigner coming into a country and feeling that pressure of power distance, it just goes to show that you don't only have to express it verbally or, you know, non-verbally. You can also express it through what you have built, what kind of, sorry, was something happening over there if I looked scared. Also, what is happening in the country, what's happening with their buildings, their architecture, yet again, how is the people behaving. That is, though, non-verbal communication. And this trip was no, it was this year. It was this year in March, I would like to say, March, April, something like that. And it was all good, all fine. It was truly an astonishing experience. But this difference, this cultural clash of actually feeling as I am part of the lower part of society here, not only because I'm a foreigner, not only because we had a 72-hour visa, but also because the buildings were representing something bigger. They were representing this power distance. And that is something I haven't seen in Sweden, and it was amazing to see. So that was my experience with that. Now, I know that I talked a lot about internships, but that's just because I've just recently discussed it for like half an hour, 45 minutes, something like that. And I love the idea of actually getting some hands-on experience, and if I could pick and choose my dream location, it would obviously be Blizzard. So, have a nice one, mates. I hope I'm not too biased. You know, I'm objective if anyone is. Have a nice day, mates, and I will see you tomorrow with another dimension.